Experience 10 days of Grand Europe trip for easy EMI of Rs 25,000 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Wonder Diamonds, South India's largest lab-grown diamond brand, stores at Chennai, Coimbatore, Bangalore and Hyderabad.
Hello, Anurag Kashyap, and welcome to Galattaplus. What is it that you're wearing?
I'm wearing my favorite hoodie. Is by Human Pranav Mishra.
Lovely.
Brand. It's Indian.
Okay.
It's Indian brand. It's with Pepsi.
So, yeah,
I've got 4.
Good. So welcome to Galattaplus, and yes, we're going to talk about your new film called Almost Pyar with DJ Mohabbat, which was called something else apparently. What was it called earlier?
Earlier it was called Ghanghor Connection. That's why the title song.
Okay. And the change happened because?
Change happened because of lots of reasons. Because the film took time because there was a time everybody was scared and they dropped out of the film. Then we had to finish the film somehow. And then lockdown happened. And then because it was like, it becomes a story somewhere that a film aisi ban rahi hai, usme love jihad hai. And that was a troubling time. So nobody wanted to touch it. So I changed the title.
What is your definition of love, Anurag? And has the way you define love changed over the years?
Now, love for me is an emotion that is deep inside you, which I find it very hard to define it. And which is why all the movies I make, it is not really, I don't call them love stories. My most filmy love story was Gangs of Wasseypur, Mohsina and Faisal. But other than that, it is exploring individuals and relationships and how they navigate through life.
Right.
Both the stories in the film are not love stories.
No, in this film, most certainly not. But I'll come to that. But don't you think Man Marziyan is a kind of a love story?
Man Marziyan was a story of an individual constantly looking for love. That's how I see it. That's also Man Marziyan is an open-ended film where she actually realizes the importance of a person and where she feels secure. Is it love or not? She knows this man really wants her, but she feels settled and secure with this individual, so she picks him and she's fear of losing this man who she thinks is rock solid and chasing an elusive dream, which is actually just passion and lots of attraction.
Right.
This is how young people see it. So I don't see that as love story, but yes, it is about love. Devdi is about love, but Devdi is also about a man finding himself, going through everything.
And I like the fact that in all your quote-unquote love stories, you find something to interrogate about love itself. For example, in Devdi, I probably told you this, I don't know, but one of my favorite lines is when Paro, after marriage, comes to Dev's house and he says, मैं प्यार करना चाहता हूँ. And she says, लोग प्यार करते हैं, ये प्यार करना चाहना क्या होता है? It's like, it's like, she's very practical. She's like, love, don't love, do whatever, but don't whine around sitting there saying that you want to love, It's like, this
it is that. And loving is giving. For me, loving is, I actually believe in you love someone, but between two people, one always loves the other more than the other.
Right.
Like, one party always has more love for the other person.
Right.
So that kind of a definition of love, because I have seen that, in the sense, I have never stopped caring about any person who's been part of my life. I have never stopped. So what happens is when, say, for example, you're not in a relationship and you meet somebody, right? And you interact with them. And then what happens is it threatens the new person, saying that, so there's no sense of security. Like, I'm a very secure person. For me, I take everything that comes along with a person.
Right.
But I find a lack of security in a lot of people. And that makes them do things for their own, validation.
Right.
So, and problem is also with the world. It's always the previous generation that drops in with good intention, thinking they know better. And these are children, they don't know their way around and to solve their problems and actually ruin it for them.
Right. So, Anurag, one thing that you could have done in this movie is, because Love Jihad plays a role in a form, you could have had a very passionate kind of lovers being separated, which would have been the conventional thing to do. And I know you don't
No,
do
I
convention, so
want
I'm
to
just
do that.
just humor me. And as I ask you this question, instead, what you do is you show two not quite love stories, as in, like with a couple in Dalhousie, it's they're more like hanging out. It's not like they're
They're
really
friends.
in
They're-
love. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about times of hatred. We've had films like Gadar, Veer Zara. The Hindu-Muslim narrative and the love stories have been done to death, and there have been very beautiful films about it in the past. I didn't want to do that. I'm
Right,
talking about the perception.
right,
In both the stories, if you see, like even if, say, for example, Aisha's story in London, she comes across as a spoiled, but is she a spoiled brat? She comes titled because she comes from a very rich family where parents are absent.
right.
So for her, everything has been given to her. So she thinks that everything belongs to her.
Yeah,
But in that story, she's not a evil person. Evil person is that father who comes once and interrupts and forces his way down. The way she talks, she's so self-aware of family when she
right.
describes the great English banking family.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
so disconnected and not rooted. So she is seeking validation again from a person who's absent.
right,
This is your psychological trauma that becomes somebody who's not available. I need validation from that person.
right.
And it increases more and more because the person is more and more available. She thinks she's doing things for him that she knows better. But in the sense, this is probably what her parents do to her when they can't give her time to buy her things.
Right.
This is what I used to do when I was separated from her. So this is
Right.
exactly what she does, what she has learned. She goes and does shopping for him, thinking that she'll make his house look better, but he's secure in his own world. So
Yeah.
she does what she knows best. But those are the things I don't never like to explain. In the sense, if people catch it, I feel happy. But to
But
go into that whole detail of psychologically and explaining psychology of people becomes very boring and it's not cinema to me.
right. And also, you do have a line that says, "Mohabbat paya nahi jata," something like that.
हाँ
You know, like there
हाँ
is there
मोहब्बत मोहब्बत की जाती है पाई
की
नहीं
जाती है.
जाती.
हाँ. Yeah.
So why that's why I'm saying we live for validation. हम मैंने that whole idea of love was actually taught to be my partner by my partner. He said this is crush, this is love, this is infatuation, this is hookup, this is the relationship, this is what they're different things,
Right.
and we confuse them. My generation confuses them. The kids don't.
Right.
Today's kids, they navigate their way through life, but they understand it faster than us.
Right.
They can
Right.
separate and compartmentalize it. We need to learn from them. I have learned from younger people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was your state of mind when you sat down to write this? I mean, what was the trigger?
The trigger was just one very simple thing that, see, I had an idea for the longest time. I want to do two stories with same actors exploring patriarchy,
Okay.
which was not these two stories. Stories have changed over a period of time. But what I was trying to tell was probably my own teenage years, right? That was the initial idea. And patriarchy in the sense which is absent. I don't want to see the parents much. I just want to see these two people. And it is how, why is it that both sides, we talk about love jihad from this side, why is it not called love jihad when the girl is Muslim and boy is Hindu,
Yeah.
right? So that means the entire conversation comes down to the vagina. It is about it is about it is like an invasion. If I see it explicitly in the sexual terms, it's like, okay, the that religion has invaded my religion. That's the psychological mindset.
You're seeing it as a form of rape then.
No, not. I'm not seeing it as a form of rape. I'm saying it is in people's head. It is like this thing that I'm uncomfortable with because I don't understand, which is any religion that is not mine,
Okay.
anything that I'm familiar, any culture that's not mine. It is invading into my home, my culture, and home gets defined by the daughter,
Right.
never by the son. Even like say Yaqub's father is like Yaqub ne ab kya kar diya Yaqub ne.
Yeah.
He's not there. Yaqub is going around gallivanting on his own. He's not l- caring for Yaqub. He's not looking for Yaqub.
Yeah.
Or Harmeet is there. Parents are like, secure, wo kar rahe, apna music kar rahe. They're not. The grandparents miss him for validation. But the daughter they're looking out for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm saying those are the things that when I started seeing it, I wanted to write about it. And most of it came from my daughter's blogs when she started talking about mental health. When she
Okay.
started talking about things that I have not been, she did a thing with me called awkward things you can't talk to your father about.
Okay.
And that blog exists on the internet. And she talks about everything. He has discussed everything with me. And then I realized they see the world very differently from us. And their struggles we undermine because why we undermine that is because I feel like I lived on the streets and I went out even after being educated to make a film going against my parents' wishes. That was in the 90s when cinema was about controlled by families and there was no studio system. Outsiders didn't come in.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have done so much struggle. I have done this. Look at my daughter. She's privileged. When my daughter says, yes, privilege comes out of the problems. You have no idea that how much of a problem it is for me to constantly being trolled by being called your daughter, which is why I don't want to be part of your business. I don't want to be in the movies. My friends suffer. How is it their fault? They grew up in an atmosphere, they want to do it, and they suffer it. They suffer judgment. I don't want to be part of that world. I don't want to go through what my friends go through. I have different anxieties, and I have lots of anxieties because I feel pressure about I have to conform to your expectation from me.
Right.
And your idea of confirming is, क्या कर रहे हो life में? What do you want to do in life? He said, I'm just navigating through life. I don't know what I will end up doing, but I'll do what I want to do. She's like, maybe I'll find out later in life what I really want to do. At this moment, I want to be a YouTuber. I'm happy being what I'm doing. I'm earning my own bread. If
Right.
it fails, I'll do something else. If that fails, I find something else. But if you want, you're my father. When I fail at everything, will you still be there? And that's what your role should be. I'm saying if you don't want to be there, you don't have to be there. Like my parents said, after your education is finished, I'm not supporting you financially. You make your own choices in life. That's how we grew up.
Right.
So I'm saying this was my parents' way of making me independent based on their conditioning that one has to go out and be independent. So all those things become question in my head. So it's not like I have a solution. I'm figuring it out. I'm also figuring out what's going on. And that's why
Right.
I keep it open-ended.
Right. Right.
For me, my films end at where it should begin. What is the new chapter that's beginning? That's where my films end. Whether Mukkabaz, Man Marziyan, this one, so anything. It ends at a new chapter beginning
Yeah.
in life, coming of age. I look at every film as coming of age.
When you decided to change the title,
Hmm.
why didn't you just say Pyar with DJ Mohabbat? Why did the almost come in?
Because DJ Mohabbat probably for me in my head is somebody who's not really talking about love. He's cynical about love. It's about how people very easily say I love you. It's so easy to say I love you. हमारे generation में if we just liked someone or even if we wanted to go out for a movie or hold hands or anything, we said I love you because that was like a certification we would give without understanding what love is,
Right.
right? So DJ Mohammed is that person who's also not really fully formed. He's not Rumi yet. He's a wannabe Rumi.
Right. I like the fact that the things that he says are almost like a very casual, like a, he's not he doesn't seem very wise that way, like though he
Yeah,
plays the role of a kind of a sutradhar if you want, but kind
yeah.
of linking certain themes, but he doesn't seem to be this very wise guy. He seems to be more like a chatty guy who wants to talk
He's a
about
cat
this and
who's got stories to tell, who's more mature than the kids listening to him. See, if you really look at today's generation, and the idea, when we have to change the title, the idea came from, again, like everywhere around me, people are listening to podcasts.
Right.
They put earphone and they listen to podcasts. They listen to books now. That's it. There's a podcast. So the podcast name I'll use as a film. And they're listening to that. But like, say, for example, would I be listening to DJ Mohabbat? No. I would probably go back to my songs of Guldar Sahab. I would probably go back to Rumi if I need to understand. I'll go back to my literature and things like that.
Right.
I would listen to podcasts of Ben Rhodes and politics. I would listen to podcasts of what's happening in the world. When you go to the chat rooms and people talking things, I'm like, why? It doesn't give me anything. But this film is about them. So which is why I did not want to force me in there. It was very difficult for me to not force me in there. So Baki to I deal with this every film of mine, that what are you doing? This is not an Anurag Kashyap film. We want Anurag Kashyap back. So I'm like, who defines what I will do? Do I get to define or you get to define me?
But I do feel that this is much more of you than Dobara.
For me, it is me. Dobara is the only film that is not me, because it was officially only a remake. The only thing I brought in that film from outside of the original story is the interpersonal relationship between the characters.
Right.
The relationship between husband, wife and all that. Or turning the black villains into grey characters because they're two people in love. That's the only thing that I brought in Dobara. Otherwise, Dobara was a template. It was given. So
what's the fun that Anurag Kashyap gets in making a movie like that?
With Dobara, just exploring something that I fear.
Which is?
I did Dobara because I have lifelong fear of remakes, of lifelong fear of I will be a sellout. And also lifelong fear of anything which is, like, say, time travel, anything to do with science. I jumped in, I said, let me try it, and if I fail, I fail.
Okay. So do you believe that line in your film that Mohabbat se Kranti aayegi?
That line was the whole basis of the film.
Right.
That was mine. Just only that line, not the song. And Mohabbat se to Kranti aayegi, in the sense we need, and when I talk about love does not need to be physical love. It doesn't need physical validation. I have love for my daughter. I have love for other people. I have love for other communities and cultures. I have love for food. If there's a friend of mine who loves eating fish head. I can't eat a fish head. Right? But my thing is, yes, I'm like, okay, I don't want to watch you eat a fish head, but I will still be like, it's there. So in the sense, there's an acceptance and tolerance. It doesn't put you off. That's what love is. For me, Mohabbat is not about man and woman have to be together. That's not, I don't mean that at all. And when the character says, Mohabbat mein bas tu hota hai, tu is like, whoever that tu is.
Yeah.
Love comes from me for you. It doesn't need to be reciprocated.
Right.
And if it's not reciprocated, doesn't mean I stop loving you. So for me, people in my life, I care about them and I don't need them to come back and give anything back to me.
Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there, nothing else. I'm not
Right.
trying to teach or preach.
The most interesting thing about the film is that it shows love can be anything. It can be two friends who are hanging out and just want to see a concert can be misconstrued as love.
It is misconstrued as love by previous generation, like our generation. See,
Yeah.
हमारी generation का famous dialogue है, लड़का लड़की के दोस्त नहीं हो सकते हैं. But today's generation, look, I've seen my daughter having party and like 7 people sleeping in the same bed, boys, girls, feeling absolutely safe and secure with each other. So I'm like, this is ये हमारे जमाने में हो ही नहीं सकता था.
Yeah.
हम लोग इतने repressed हैं.
So there is this friendship wala love, there is this one-sided love wala love, there is gay love, there is all kinds of things in your in the film. Yeah. That it's pretty much, and then you put that layer of all this without showing it. You just show how the world today is kind of divided into the people who are doing these things versus the older generations that are kind of
And there are flip sides to everything. There are two sides to everything. I'm saying if there is two men in love, there's also homophobia, there's also predatory behavior within that world. All three
Right.
exist.
Yeah.
What exists in heterosexual relationships also exists in homosexual relationships. All three. I didn't want to comment on this is right or wrong. I did not want to tick any woke boxes.
Right.
I'm not trying to make a woke film.
Right.
And I don't want to tick all the box. Okay, misogyny comment कर दिया, patriarchy comment कर दिया, इस पे कम वो मुझे करना ही नहीं था. The idea is to show this is the world we are living in, and you take from it whatever it is. Who's right, who's wrong? In the sense, the old couple whose conditioning tells them that they're disappointed and they actually are broken-hearted that their son broke the marriage and married another man and is warning the girl, don't go out and marry a Muslim, so चार बीवियां हो सकती हैं. Are they bad people? No, they're not. They exist.
Right.
I grew up in a house where my grandmother did not allow non-vegetarian food to be made in the house. It was made outside the house. Plates were different. The plates could not be brought in. We had to wash our hands with lifebuoy before we entered after eating non-vegetarian food. Until she was alive, we respected that thing because we respected her and her choices.
Right.
When she passed away, it was okay. It was normal. But I'm saying, I don't even judge the old couple as, I'm saying bigotry जो है, जो conditioning से आती है, क्या वो bigotry है या नहीं है? वो है जो आज के लोग जो manipulate करते हैं. When people are very aware of other people's prejudice, we've lived with prejudice all our lives. We've had some kind of a prejudice with something we don't understand.
Right.
But for me, biggest bigots are those people who understand people's prejudices and empower them for their own personal gains.
Right. Right. So in this film, did you at any point, because you wanted to explore, or rather at least pinpoint different types of things that could be construed as love, did you consider making one heterosexual pair and one, like, say, homosexual pair, so you could kind of show both sides of the story?
No, I did not. There's a line in a song which nobody has discovered, which earlier my film was also allegorical to Kashmir.
Okay.
So when you talk about the love, the toxic love, one story is a toxic love because somebody wants the other person very badly. Which is why there's a line in the song which says, तुझसे पहले था जो constitution तुझे पाने के लिए निकाले दो section.
Yeah.
I'm saying those things, but I leave them there.
Right.
In the sense that is about, it is very toxic that we want this. It is very toxic in this world that we want to force our way of living onto others.
When I saw this film, it occurred to me that this is the kind of film that Anurag Kashyap would make if he wanted to make an Imtiaz Ali movie. What do you think of that
It is
assessment?
true. It is true. Imtiaz Ali also helped me structure it. It is true.
He actually helped you structure this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. He did.
Okay, wow. Yeah, okay.
And yeah, he helped me structure it. Raju also sat on the edit just before he started doing Donkey, 2 months. A lot of my filmmakers friends have helped me structure it because, say, for example, DJ Mohabbat's language, I did not want it to be mine.
Right.
And I did not want him to be as mature as Gulzar Saab or Vishal ji.
Right.
But I would go on walks with Vishal ji early morning because the early morning is the best time to catch him. When he was my neighbor, I would go in the morning so I catch him in the walk. And during walk, he composes music. It's a beautiful sight. You see him walking alone and he's got his earphones on and he's thinking in his own head, composing a tune. His hands are moving. It's a sight to watch. Vishal ji like that. So whenever our eyes will meet, I'll interrupt him. And I would tell him about this film. And I said, I need help. How do you define love? So that story, वो एक अंधा एक अंधेरे कमरे में काली बिल्ली ढूंढ रहा है.
Yeah.
और मोहब्बत की गली में बस तू है. All these are conversations that Vishal ji would talk about.
Right.
And I would go back to my room and write it down and steal it and then show it to him. I said, I'm using it like this. He said, हाँ करो. That Rabia Bhi story came from Vishal ji. So no, all those things, I literally borrowed or stole from filmmakers and my peers that I look up to.
Right, right.
फिर गुलजार साहब को फिल्म दिखाया कि सर आपका नाम यूज कर रहा हूँ, आपकी 2 लाइनें यूज कर रहा हूँ परमिशन के लिए, एंड ही हैप्पीली सॉ इट एंड ही गॉट इमोशनल. ही सेज यार तुम कैसी फिल्में क्या बनाते हो, कैसे बनाते हो, बहुत अच्छा है, इतनी
Yeah.
इज्जत के साथ नाम लिया है, तुम प्लीज यूज करो.
No, how did you come up with that Khamoshi song reference? I mean, like, it's just so apt, because you don't want to define love, and that's the perfect song for that.
Yeah, but that is true. That is true. That's what I have always believed in. My whole idea of love is like that. I can love someone without them loving me back. I have a massive problem with, see, when my 2 marriages failed, when my relationships failed, I realized much later in life that my house is a library. It's a film geek's house. Nobody can come into my life and make it a home. I have grown up in boarding schools, hiding in libraries. Library is my secure place. So in that space, I was always alone. So my relationships don't fail because of any other reason, but I have totally become a person where somebody has to surrender their own identity and self to become a part of my world, which is unfair. And that's the reason why things fail. So either you find somebody who's as geeky as you and loves the same thing, which is like 1 in 5,000 million. You'll never find that person who's just like that and fits in. Like,
Right, right, right.
otherwise you have to be like that. So I know it's so predefined that nobody, so which is why when I care about someone or I am there, I will be there. I love cinema. I'll always champion anything that I believe in. I love some filmmakers. I will go out of my way to tell them. I will not hesitate. I'm that way very secure. And I don't need validation. I don't need validation. So somehow those things came from over a period of time. You realize love is a feeling that you have, and which is why I always define. I said, love is a nice longing. Longing is a very beautiful feeling.
Right, right, right. How did you decide on the two places, that is Dalhousie and London?
Dalhousie was simply because I was supposed to shoot in Kashmir and 370 happened. And then
Ah,
Kashmir was closed off. And because of that, we had a long 6 months delay. And I was like, we can't delay it so much because actors had already changed their hair. Karan had grown his hair. We shot London first. Uh, for Allah, I had got a blue thing on her hair.
right,
Everything changed and actors were ready. So I said, okay, fine. Where can we find snow? Can we go there? And then we went to Dalhousie because we couldn't shoot in Kashmir.
right.
But
So why was so important?
because I find people living in the mountains. If you really are I come from UP. I come from Banaras, which is the holy city.
Right,
I've seen the business of religion
right,
very closely. But if you go up in the mountains and go to small towns, the religion there is very secure.
right.
Toxicity is almost absent. I find mountain people are very innocent because they're so further away from the cities development. They don't migrate as much as people from northern region like Bihar and UP. So, and they have retained their culture and they're very, like, if I met people who really are very religious in this old fashioned way where very honest, tolerant, accepting, and that thing has just started to seep in. Which is why when Amrita talks about how her life was very different when till she was 10 years old.
10 years old, yeah. Yeah.
And then suddenly everything changed. So that whole thing, I wanted to do it in the mountains. City, earlier the plan was, let's do Mumbai. But I'm saying Mumbai is not far removed from India. I'm saying even make it even more progressive.
Right, right.
I'm saying suppose people think we're migrating to London because then you realize the conditioning there is worse than us. They're even more patriarchal. They are still in the 60s. And that where also, in the sense also that girl is not just like a Muslim. She's also Pakistani, partly Pakistani, but born in England.
Right.
She didn't grow up there, but the father's mindset is there. So it must have been probably pre-independence or something. Is that kind of a thing?
Right.
When they're both probably one country. So those are the backstories in the head. It's not really. I don't want to delve in there to create a psychological backstory. I wanted
Fair
to
enough.
start in a moment and then take off from there, because it's
Right.
about when both the stories when the kids come together.
Right.
So that's why I thought let's go to London, because that's where a lot of we were a British colony, a lot of people migrated there. Which is why that dialogue also, he said, Chamba pehle Punjab mein aata tha, and he said, India bhi to England mein aata tha. So I'm saying that kind of a thing. So those were the things in the back of my head, but I don't like to explain too much. इससे ज्यादा मैं explain करता हूँ तो मेरे को खुद cringe होता है.
Right. Which brings me to your writing, which I found very interesting because there are a lot of, like, for me, it was like you leave a lot of dots in the thing and leave viewers to connect it in their own ways.
Yeah.
So, when you do this, do you first write a draft with all the explanations and then slowly remove them?
I do write the draft with all the explanations. So earlier dialogues will be much more detailed.
Right.
The whole allegory, like I said, to Kashmir was supposed to be in the house.
Right.
When they break into a house where the television is the other room and remote is this side. And there's a lock. Everything is a lock.
Right.
So I took out that whole sequence where he finds everything has got a big lock. And he's talking about how we used to be earlier when the people who lived in the mountains went down in the, like, they would leave the houses open. ताला ही नहीं होता था पहले. पहाड़ों में घर ऐसे होते थे, लोग ताला लगाते ही नहीं थे. So I'm saying एक time वो था. So we're talking about the time when we were so accepting, nobody would lock their houses and leave it open.
Right.
For others in the summer or winters, wherever. So all those things I wanted to say it indirectly from the stories that probably Yaqub had heard from his grandparents.
Right.
Not going into the detail, but today we have locked everything. Everything is locked in. So that whole remote and TV was also an allegory to what's really happening. So you're controlled. Everything is controlled from one place, from a remote.
Right.
And what exists within that locked boundaries are controlled from outside. And those are the things I wanted to just drop here and there, because I didn't want to delve into much and make it more political. But yes, when I write all those things down. And then I start taking it out because I don't want it to sound like I'm on Twitter.
Right. Like I even like the part where, you think you're getting into some, a little bit of character definition with the character with Harmeet, and there's one guy who's trying to tell him, become a music producer as opposed to a composer.
Yeah.
Then there's another guy who's trying to give him advice, saying that this is what it is. So you think you're going to get a little more detail about that world of his, but then you kind of afterwards it doesn't really progress that way, because then he's the next thing he's into jail and this and that and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
because it's like
I like
everybody, we all go through that, no? I go through it on a daily basis. Like I've been through it all my life, where people tell me what kind of films I should make. Like Mohabbat tells him that music mein Harmeet hona chahiye. But I'm saying today's kids are also listening to Shake My Booty. And they're listening, there's no individuality in there. The restaurant guy to music pe focus kar. Why? Because his business is there and he's probably attracted to it. Then there's somebody else. Everybody's advising this man, and it's like literally like he's confused. He just wants to play music and nobody's letting him be. So his whole thing is about navigating through life where everybody wants to decide for him because he's awkward, socially awkward.
Yeah.
Only because he's socially awkward, which is what happens with socially awkward people. Everybody wants to come in and tell them what to do. And then he can't. And he really changes when he goes to the prison. It changes him suddenly because it becomes about survival. And I wanted to keep that short. And the whole idea of that man suddenly transforming and thinking of this is what you learn when you go to a place like that. In order to be a man, you have to be strong and macho and fight and stand up for yourself. That's the idea of a man, which is
Right.
in contrast, to what Mohabbat says in the beginning. Vulnerability is the most beautiful thing.
Yeah. So when you were writing, did you have a checklist of things that you wanted on both sides? For example, food. One side there's noodles, one side there's dal chawal. Did you have a checklist of things that either directly or indirectly you wanted to kind
No,
of?
no, that was picked up on the way while shooting, because when we went to Dalhousie, realized how big a thing noodles are in the mountains, because they're the easiest thing. Everywhere there's a noodle shop.
Right.
So that I picked up from Dalhousie. Those, and even the shops are original. They're not
Right.
sets.
Right.
And literally, when you go to London, you realize how much people crave dal chawal, like the homemade dal chawal. So those
Right.
things were not. Those things were picked up while shooting,
Okay.
and also improvised. Like मेरी माँ एक बहुत अच्छा आम का अचार बनाती है. Came from Sagar. Sagar is an actor who I knew from theater in Delhi, but he moved based to London. So you will see him in all the movies like Action Hero. Any film shot in London, he's a terrific actor. You'll see him there. So in the sense, it all came from his own nostalgia about India too.
Right.
So I let those things flow. It not really is that was not supposed to be underlining of anything. But yes, I love food. One thing that I put in deliberately of, because since and this whole idea of the boy coming from Germany is because Karan Mehta grew up in Germany. And his mother is a Punjabi and speaks German. So he grew up in Germany. And my one discovery, which is definitely put into the film, was that when I first went to abroad in Locarno in the festival with Black Friday, and we survived on doner kebab because this is the cheapest street food available. And it was a big discovery when Fatih Akin told me the whole story of doner kebab has not come from Turkey. He took me to the shop where it was first made in Berlin. And the best one, he took me to Hamburg. So that Fatih Akin talked about that. And he's really, it's like he says, when we had migrated from Turkey to here, all they had was sausages, and they would put tomato sauce on top of it and call it curry sausages and sauerkraut. So that element I brought in from there.
Right.
Because for a man, there are only two kinds of food that exist. The one that he eats at home, and the one that reminds him of home. Craves.
Was the character the linking device of DJ Mohabbat there right from the beginning, or did you kind of say, I need to link these two things, so I need a character there?
DJ Mohabbat was created later.
Okay.
The character of DJ Mohabbat was not supposed to be physically available. He was just a podcast.
Okay.
When they run away to listen to him, and he was supposed to appear only in the last song.
Okay.
Because the rest of the film, we were only initially just using voice.
Yeah.
And he was only supposed to appear in Mohabbat Se Kranti Aayegi, when everything comes together.
Right.
So which is why in the beginning, when we were shooting him, we were not showing his face. We slowly started to reveal him. But also because the film traverses two different timelines. Like the Harmeet's timeline is probably, Harmeet's timeline is 1 year after Yaqub's timeline.
Yeah.
Yaqub's timeline is 2016, and Harmeet's timeline is around 2017. And then things after that, 3 years later, this is now, I'm saying 2017 to 18.
Yeah.
So that was intercut in between.
Yeah. Is there a sense of relief now that you've gotten this off your chest?
Yes, this is out. Now it's like everything, this is out. Char Chappalein, which was been there from 2017, is out. Everything past is over now. Right. It's all with Kennedy. Now I'll be back to my groove.
Right. Kennedy is the movie you're right now in Prague for.
Yeah, we're recording with Prague Philharmonic.
Finally, Anurag, even movies like Gulal earlier, they're all socio-political films, and you've always addressed society in some way. How has it changed over the years for you? I mean, are you angrier now? Are you more cynical now? What has changed about your view of society?
I'm saying I'm less angry.
Okay.
I'm more accepting. I'm at a point that people choose their own society
Okay.
that they want to exist in. And today I believe in that consequences are theirs. I cannot change the mindset in my own house. I cannot change the mindset in my own industry. So who am I to try and change the world? So if you see, Gulal came from that person who had a point of view like aggressively this, that. But today it's not like. Today is, I just want to, the way things are, very important for me is what my film is and wherever it is set and whatever time it is set in, it should be true to that. Because cinema was my window to the world when I was growing up.
Yeah.
To understand that world. Today, if I also want to see something, I see architecture in old movies. I see what people wear in old movies. I see all those things and notice all those things. And those things make a lot of sense.
Right.
For me, it's also ideas to document the world the film is set in. Dobara is the only film that's not set in any
recognizable.
It's a fictional place. But all other films, it has to be, the milieu is very important for me. The setting, the times are important. So I'm saying 10 years from now, if I see a film, I said, okay, these are the times you are going through.
Nice.
So that for me is very important, and that I will continue doing, because without that, I can't make a film.
Right.
Sometimes I will take liberty, but it will still, if one will see like no smoking, creating a lot of things, but still, if no smoking, today I talk about. And when you see a person like Baba Bengali, which I shot back in 2006, his disciples were minorities and underprivileged people. And that's how they built a cult. So that Gulal and all those things is one, you saw them forthcoming. But today now it is about just what I see. And what I see, first I write it down and then my friends react. ऐसे ये देख यहाँ पे तू ट्विटर लग रहा है, यहाँ पे भी तू लेक्चर दे रहा है. And then धीरे-धीरे I start cutting it out. I keep throwing it out. I said, let me just tell the story. Let's just tell the story. Let's not make a comment. Let's not make a message. The film itself will become a comment to those who understand, or it won't, and leave everything. I like open endings. I don't like closed endings. Closed endings becomes definite. So I always like to leave them at that note.
Yeah. Because even here, when you think that look of puzzlement on both their faces, it's like it's. I thought that was the perfect ending to this movie, because it's almost like it's फिर से कुछ शुरू हो रहा है. It's like I don't know, something that you keep wanting to know what's going to happen now, and then
what's going to happen now.
That's when you end the
leave
film.
it at that, because what happens from there on is probably their destiny or not, or whatever it is that also a chance of redemption for both of them individually, because they both somewhere deep down blame each other, whether they've not done it directly, but they have that pang of guilt.
Yeah.
So it's just that. Leave it there. And then I love the way Vicky was dancing in between them.
Cool. It's good to see you, Anurag, still enjoying making films that are very you. Joe, so you cannot be accused of what DJ Mohabbat tells Harmeet ki, like, is गाना में तुम कहाँ हो या तू कहाँ है? He says something like that. So it's like, where are you in this song? But somehow, we always manage to find you in your films, whether the films work or not for an individual person.
Yeah. I think people's expectation of the fans are my biggest. The fans of that early phase, angry phase of mine, which is Gangs of Wasipur, Ugly, Raman Raghav, they only want that. And they feel like that I've lost myself. So people keep writing, where is Anurag? I'm right here. I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
And keep doing that, Anurag. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Experience 10 days of Grand Europe trip for easy EMI of Rs 25,000 only with GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Wonder Diamonds, South India's largest lab-grown diamond brand, stores at Chennai, Coimbatore, Bangalore and Hyderabad.